Welcome to the Mind Sensei Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Taz, and I'll be taking you on a journey to the world of martial arts and introduce listeners to some of the most inspiring and knowledgeable practitioners from around the world. Whether you're a seasoned martial artist or a curious beginner, or just enjoy hearing a great story, the Mind Sensei Podcast Down Under has something for everyone. So tune in, sit back, and let us take you on a journey through the world in martial arts. Tell us a little bit about your involvement as an artist for Disney, DreamWorks, and The Simpsons.
I love designing. I love designing. And one thing back in the 70s, there was no computers. No computers, so everything was hand drawn. So I was lucky enough to get a job for a little while at Disney. Um, I was not in the art department. I was in the film department, making the canisters, the drawings that go on the canisters. The little To say what it was, I had to do the drawings. That's it. That's all I did, and the newsletter, the drawings that go on the newsletter, and that's it. I wasn't as sophisticated as the big artists who would draw, all the big, stuff for Disney, all that stuff. No, I was just a small artist doing the little Mickey Mouse and the little stuff like that for the cans and the newsletter. That's my claim to fame at Disney, doing the drawings. But again, there were no computers then, so you had to do it all by hand. I was glad to know over the years, people like my brother-in-law, Paul Week. He's the head animator of The Simpsons, and a few other artists I got to know over the years who'd help me. And I said, okay, what's the best tools? How do I use this? And they groomed me through Photoshop. And Photoshop came about. That became my tool. Instead of hand drawing, I did it on Photoshop. And that became my tool, and I still use it today. And I learned that, and they helped groom me. I went to school for a long time for Photoshop, and my friends helped groom me in that. So I'm very grateful for that.
Let's do a little tour of the museum now, if you don't mind. We'll give our viewers a quick look.
Well, I'm not sure how to turn this around, so you're gonna have to get with me. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
So,
Good.
I'm gonna start you through here. So as you come in the door, okay, this is the museum store, okay, which is nicely designed. We have nice items in here. I hope you can see them. Items on the wall. We have a timeline that's part of the wall here. Can you see the timeline? We have a timeline of martial arts,
Yep.
which is really cool. You even had Ed Parker's first brochure from the internationals right there. So here is the museum store, and here's kind of my Disney flavor. I want to make sure we had some trees in here, which is pretty neat. So I designed and made this whole tree. It's actually a pole that has styrofoam. I cut these, I trimmed them, I made them, I aged them, and we put this up there. I mean, plates up there, and it's pretty good. So, and then you made the donor wall, shows the different donors that have given over the years. And then behind us is a lot of caps and fun stuff. And then over here is our counter of people coming in. And then this is our VIP area that people come in and sit down because we have visitors almost every day to come on and hang out. And this is just the store. So I wanted people to come in here and get that wow factor when they get to the store. So I think we accomplished that. So we have animatronics. The guy talking, my friends from Disney made that for me. So that's really good. People come in and it talks to them. So, okay. And then over here, you come in and have a kiosk like here, people talking, welcome you in the museum.
Yep.
For here, we have our Chinese section. Well, Chinese lions, the actual ones used in the parade and stuff. We have right through here, you can see more of the Chinese section as you go through. Uniforms from the pioneers, uniforms from Eric Lee right there, King of Kata, actual weapons used by the actual people, their weapons. We have videos in each section so people can learn by watching the videos. So a lot of these we have Chinese lions on the ceiling. So this is just a nice big area. And this is just the Chinese section, which is kind of cool. Can you see all that? Yeah. And here in this room here, I'm trying to stay out of the way. Now we go into the next room, which will be our Japanese section. So we have a whole bunch of samurai swords against the wall here. Which is really cool. And then we have the samurai outfits on here, which is nice. Yeah, and then we have our, different things from different people on here and showing different pictures of people on here. And then, which is pretty nice. No, so, yeah. And over here is I'm very proud of this. These are uniforms from many of our pioneers who gave it to me before they passed away, from Ralph Castro, Fumio Kimura, Pax Naboda, and Tino Tiolosega. We're very proud to have their uniform here on display so they're remembered. We have areas on ninja, which is really cool out here. Some of our items are over 100 years old here, which is nice over here. And so that's our section. Over here is us. Thailand. So this is Thailand section. Actual outfits from Chai Saraswati and, Macau and there. And then we have actual uniforms. This is donated by Junri's son. Donated Junri's uniform. We have Joe Bang Lee's uniform. The sides talking about Korean history. I like to have their uniforms on display so people can relate to that. So we have Bang So An's uniform, Jun Chung as well, and a lot of stuff about the early days and Korea, the fans and stuff like that. So that's a look in that area. And then we come into this area talking about Hawaiian arts. We got couple of animatronics again, talking to you. Again, my Disney flavor. Hawaiian arts, talking about all the different Hawaiian arts, showing the Hawaiian weapons here, the actual weapons made for us by Solomon Kaiwalu before he passed away. And then all about Hawaiian arts and stuff. And then we have unicorns from Solomon Kaiwalu to Cecil Peoples and Bill Ryosaki, all donated before some of them passed away. Cecil's still with us, but Bill Ryosaki right there. And this is our Philippines section, talking about Philippine arts from the gift weapons, Danny Dos Santos sticks right here, Ernie Reyes's outfit right here, and then we talk about the history. And again, all these I've designed, every one of them I've designed and wrote all the information that you see here. We have cases, nice cases. Sent to look professional, Richard Castillo's outfit. Yeah, and it was before he passed away. And then over here we have, I'll move over here real quick. Our stuff on film, movie and film. This is a timeline of history, martial arts history, all through the years. What happened over the early films. And then, Bruce Lee and all that, so which is nice. We have a Bruce Lee section with Bruce Lee's actual artifact he used working out right here, which is really nice. And then we have a timeline of Bruce Lee's history, and then a mannequin. Then we have props from the movies, from Karate Kid. These are all the actual props from the movies. Everything is real. There's only one thing that's not real in here. It's Billy Jack's hat, because we used to have the real one, but they wanted it back, so I put a replica, a real one. These are the magazines. The first issue of Black Belt magazine, there it is. First issue of Inside Kung Fu, there it is. And then over here we have the Karate Kid, the very first Karate Kid uniform ever used on film. Right where we have anime. This is our anime section. We even have a game that kids play right on here. And then we even have John Corcoran's outfit that he used to wear. So this is our history of anime, a timeline. Again, I drew every one of these on here. So, it took a while to draw, but I had to draw them all. So this is a nice look at the timeline of anime. We have a little bit on Lego. This room is going to be an exhibit room. This will have boxing, MMA, and UFC and other stuff on there. And then over here is our Hall of Fame. This is our Hall of Fame wall over here. So these are some of our pioneers, as you can see, from Graciela Casillas, Lily Rodriguez, Benny Urquidez, Cynthia Rothrock. And then we have uniforms from Al Dacascos here. We have the Hall of Fame wall right here that changes all the time. We're going to have a kiosk here. All you do is touch the name and a video of what they did will appear.
Nice.
I mean, we have George Chung's outfit. We have Steve Saunders, Mohammed's outfit. We have Ed Parker's outfit right here, which is nice given to us. So we're very thrilled about that. We have martial arts in America from the early days all the way, all throughout the early days. Gene LaBelle's outfit, signed by him. It's a nice look at that. And then over here, it goes on, keeps going. This will be our Women's Warriors outfit area, Women's Warriors. So we just have the TV right now, but we're working on that. This is our African section. So we're building that stuff on African arts. This is going to be our Armenian section. It's actually done. We haven't put the posters up, but this is our look at Armenian arts. And then this is Elvis, one of Elvis Presley's outfits right here.
Okay.
So, which is cool. This is our Native American. So Native American arts here. And then over here will be arts from England and Europe and all that will be here. And then over here is our Hispanic area. We're starting to build this out for Hispanic arts, lucha fighting. And then over here is our theater. So our theater is a 122-seat theater. And it goes all the way from here.
Of the Avengers introduced them
all the way across. So the way on. Okay. So 122-seat theater so that people can enjoy and see the movies on 3 screens that we have here. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff here. We're adding. We have a warehouse in there. As all our stuff we still haven't put out. A lot of stuff in there from Billy Blank's outfits to Jimmy Ring Woo's outfit and Chan Koi's outfit we got in. Again, this will be our rotating exhibit room. That'll be huge when we're done. And then we got a kitchen too. But, we got some great stuff. You can see very professionally done, very well done. And people enjoy it. And, so they greet people, different people greet them on the way in.
Okay.
It's kind of nuts. So that's a quick look at the museum. I know it's really fast, really good. It's pretty good. So, I'm very proud of what we've done.
Yeah, nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah.
And then we have events like 3 times a month, so people come back all the time.
So let's talk a little bit about the History Hall of Fame awards that you run.
Yeah.
How that got started and where it's led to.
Like I was saying earlier, when you do work with the magazines, I said, that's how you choose them to go in the Hall of Fame? Really? That's how you do it? And I go, okay. And I used to, doing the arts this long, you grow up with these guys and you know what they did. Growing up since 1967, you knew what Ben Euclides did because you were there. You knew what this person did. I was a teenager then, but, I was there when this happened. I was there when that happened. I knew what these guys were still alive when that happened. And I felt it was important that we have someplace with integrity. Because there are so many halls of fame. And I never make fun of anybody's halls of fame. I think people should be recognized, and I'm very happy people are recognized. I never make fun of anybody's hall of fame. But it should be more than buying a dinner to get in. So I thought it was important that we have at least one that would focus on history. Because this is a history museum. And it is something what that person did to change history. So I said, okay, we need to look at what an individual did. What they did is going to change the direction of martial arts, change the direction of America or the world. And how is it going to change? What did Ben Euclides do? What did Jackie Chan do? What did these guys do? And that's what we based it on. What that person, someone may win a bunch of championships, but if all they did is win championships, that's not history making. History making is when someone
took the bull by the horns and made a difference. Jackie Chan was out there and putting comedy into films and promoted martial arts through this way. Cecil Peoples was one of the early guys that transformed from point fighting into a kickboxer and was successful at it. Bill Wallace paved the way in kickboxing, and Joe Louis. You have these history-making individuals that changed the course of history. Eric Lee became one of the first successful kung fu practitioners in the tournament when there was no kung fu in tournaments back in that day. Al Dacascos and many other people that made an impact, that invented this art, or what I mean, that had a unique presence and became significant enough that made a change, that changed our direction, that changed our what I mean? So I didn't need it to be just anybody to go in there. So when I made the Hall of Fame, I made the Hall of Fame books. And each book is, let me grab it real quick. It's right over here. Okay, when I wrote these books, I wanted to make sure that the people it wasn't going to be a bio, okay? It wasn't going to be a bio about them. It was going to be about something they did, how they changed history. Like here it is, Chuck Norris. And we dedicated 6 pages and trying to find unique photos of Chuck and saying his style, what he did, but more importantly, what he did, how he changed history. Not just what he studied here, he did this. We do a little bit of that, but we do 6 pages so people like Babe Ruth, became a big champion, in baseball. And you can read, he hit, 714 home runs, and he did this, and he was a pitcher, and he did this and that, and he changed history that way. And I want to do the same thing. What did June Reed do to change history? Why was this guy important? Don't tell me all about this belts he won, and, he was 8th degree and all that. No. I want to learn what this guy was called the father of American Taekwondo. Why was he called that? What did he do to make a difference? And that's what we've done. We did 6 pages on each person. And when I created the Hall of Fame, I wanted to make sure that we focus on those people who made the impact, who made a difference. And that's why I asked the Hall of Famers, the previous Hall of Famers, to nominate them, not the museum. We just verify information, but for them to nominate them and tell us what they did to change history. And that's why I think it's important. We get that when someone dies in newspapers or other stuff, call the museum, they ask who he was, what's his life, can you send us pictures? And we do. We do that all the time. And I think it's important we have at least one place that has integrity to say, I got it in there not by a dinner, by changing history. And I think we needed one of them. And when you see their names on the wall, you can see just by their names, oh, yes, that's why they're in there. We know why they're in there. And that's when we get the kiosk, they're going to hit their name, and the video of what they're in there is going to show.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to have one.
Yeah.
There's, growing up in the martial arts, I've seen them all come and I've seen them all go. So I said, we need one, and again, I don't put anybody else's down. I think people deserve recognition, and I'm glad people are getting recognition. But one award I went to, I got an award, and I don't go to them anymore. But I got an award, and it was Hall of Fame of this. And then next to me on the plane was another girl, 17 years old, who got the same award. And I said, this ain't right. So, thankfully, the people who are in there, who select, are very picky. And I'm very glad for that.
Okay. So what are your long-term goals for the museum and its future? And, what do you see at 100 years from now?
Well, 3 years from now, I see us moving out of this place and to get a much bigger place. See, our goal was to get this huge facility down the street over here. It's $5 million. And one of these big name celebrities, I won't say who, was going to spearhead the whole thing. And he was connecting us. I'm going to connect you with this guy. I'm going to get the money from this guy. I'm going to get the money from this guy. I'm going to get that place. And in the place, we're going to have not only a nice store, but have a restaurant. We're going to have area for seminars. so that people, instead of having it at their school or this, they can all come to the museum and have the seminar there and have classes and have courses on education, on health, and different things like that. Do things for the community, have Tai Chi for the seniors, be a part of the community, because that's what we do. We bring in a lot of people who have dementia all the time. They come in groups. We don't charge them. They come in every week and they come through the museum and they enjoy the museum, and hopefully something triggers there. We bring a lot of people who are mentally challenged here all the time. And I want to continue that. And when we were going to get that place, we were going to have an area for that. We're going to have extra area that we can have classes on diabetes and health and all that. That way the community can come to the museum, not just as a martial arts museum, but come to as a community museum as well, and have a big theater, huge theater, right? Ours is 122 feet. I wanted a 300 seat theater. So that way we have all that thing. But sadly, that person died in the process. He died before we could get anybody connected. So we had to settle with this place, 8,000 square feet. It was still not big enough for our needs. But our goal is to raise enough funds to get that place that we were looking at. It is still for sale. And maybe, who knows, somebody big might come along and say, I believe in museums and I want to invest and help you guys out. It's a tax deduction, and that's what I see in 3 years of people coming aboard, having enough funds to get either that place or somewhere bigger, or maybe the city will say, I like what you're doing. Let me get you a city-owned property instead. And that way we can expand that way and do a lot more for the community. So that's why I see us in 3 years, and that same 3 years to continue on for another 100 or more years. We got to save our history. Nobody's doing it. And Benny Ukita used to tell me, Michael, if you don't have this museum, nobody's going to know who I am in, a few years. Nobody's going to know what I did, and that goes for all of us. Nobody's going to have any idea who Mr. Parker was or anybody was. Everything we did is going to be lost forever. And I continue to stress that. I say, guys, come on board, help us out. Everybody give $1, $1. Every martial artist give $1, we'd be fine. So we just keep pushing forward, and we know it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. We know great things are going to happen. But that's my plan for now, 3 years, and my plan for 100 years.
Have you thought about asking some of the people who are in your museum that are still around to donate time to run a virtual seminar online that you charge for to help the museum?
That would be nice. That would be nice. I don't know how to do it yet.
Okay.
That's one thing I don't know, how to do a virtual so you pay and then they make money. Cynthia Rothrock and I were doing a YouTube page together, and we were making a little money there, and she was donating half of the money to the museum for 2 years, and at that time we didn't have the capability of someone doing an online seminar or something. And that's what I got to learn. I don't know everything. And that's one thing I don't know. So I need help in doing that. That would be a wonderful thing. I would love it. I would love it if I can get these guys, these icons, to do that. And I'm sure they would. And I hope they would. And to do that, I think before, in the early days, Bill Ryusaki used to do a class and he'd give all the money to the museum. And, all these guys would do it. Richard Bustillo would do a class, give all the money to the museum. All these people would do a class. Don Wilson, give all the money to the museum. And that was just a regular class. So once I get somebody who can help me create that online, and they pay-per-view, I guess is what it's called. Yeah. I would love to do it. So I need help in that area.
Okay. You apparently had an Emmy nomination for your role as a Disney artist.
Well, actually, it was for as a production. El Rey Network was a Hispanic network, and they needed content. And I don't remember the guy's name. I forgot, a very popular name. I forgot already. But anyway, they needed content, and they wanted to do something on Hispanic martial arts. And I said, fine. And they called me, and they called Art Camacho. And Art Camacho, and as you know, I had hired him as my director. for when I was producing for Blue Cross of California, the commercials. So I'd hired Art as my director, and they had talked to Art, and they called me, and they said, we want to make a show, and with the museum's help, we want to make a show and do a season, shoot a season on mostly Hispanic artists. And you know these guys. And I said, yep. And he says, who would be a good person to do this? We're thinking of Art Camacho. And I said, I love it. Art Camacho is my friend. We've been working together for a long time. And I said, let's do a show. Let's do a show, but it has to be named after Art Camacho. I want him to be the focus of the show, not the museum, Art Camacho, because I wanted Art to help build them up a little bit more. And they agreed. So they called it the Camacho Experiment. And we shot most of it here at the museum, almost everything here at the museum, and and they loved the show. And one of the guys was connected to the Emmys, and he got us as one of the finalists in the Emmys as a nomination. And I said, oh, this is great. He goes, okay, now you have to put for your consideration and take out these ads to get it for the last process. The last process is you getting it awarded on stage. This is the last process, but you got to get in those five, last five people to get on there, to get on stage, and they'll pick from one of those five. So you have to push it and promote it. And that's what we did best I can, but we didn't have any budget. And these other ones we're up against had millions of dollars in budget. And I said, oh my God, they're having ad and variety. It says, for your consideration, and here we are. And this little ad, that's all we got, for your consideration. So we got to the highest level you can get before getting on stage. We made it to that level for nomination for an Emmy, but we didn't get it to the final 5. We got to the final 10, but we didn't make it to the final 5 to get on stage and to win. So, but it was a great time. I enjoyed it. We have a lot of fun. I'm very proud of the work we did. And, it was just fun doing. It was just fun doing. But yeah, we can say we were nominated, but we didn't make it to the final stage. So it's a nice thing, though.
Nice, nice. In all your time at the Martial Arts History Museum, what would be some memorable moments you've had during that time frame?
I think the greatest time are our honor days. Somebody asked me, what's an honor day? An honor day is our way. Think of it as a memorial. When someone passes away, they're not there to hear you say these wonderful things. They're not there. They're gone. You're saying it to their family and friends, but they're not there. And I said, that's not good. I saw this show on Little House on the Prairie. And Little House on the Prairie had Helen Hayes. And something happened, and they thought she died. And all her relatives came from everywhere to talk about her. And she was in the back with a veil over her head. And at the end, she revealed herself. And they were all upset at her. And she goes, look, I haven't seen this guy in 25 years. And I haven't seen my nephew in 30 years. Now I finally see you and I'm gone, so to speak. This is not right. I shall see you now when I'm still alive. And I said, that's it right there. I said, that's what we need to do to honor these people while they're still here. Like we had Richard Bustillo, and we read his bio. We present him with a beautiful certificate Ed Parker designed for us. We toast him a little bit, and then we bring people up and we do show a collage of their whole life. We put it together. The museum puts the whole thing together. And then people come up and talk about them. Oh, Richard did this for me. And you inspired me, Richard. And they hug him. And it's just a tearful moment. And at the very end, after all the people have said what they say, he comes up and he talks about how he appreciated and how this and that. And it's just a wonderful time. I see Hall of Fame awards. People go up there, get the awards, say thank you, and that's it. They're done. And I said, no, we can't have that. So the honor awards allows them to come up and talk as long as they need. The people will show their appreciation, show their love. They get their life shown on screen. They get their biography. People learn about them. They get to toast them a little bit. And, oh, he loves these movies. Oh, he loves pizza. He loves this, a little personal about their life. And those are their tear-jerking moments. And we do those honor days twice a month. We've done it for twice a month for the whole year. We do it consistently, sometimes 3 times a month. We've done it for you name it, from James Ebrow and Natividad and all those guys that are gone. We've done it for them. And those are my proudest moments of having those events. And every time I do it, it's like it's a new thing for me, because I'm so excited that the person's being honored. And people fly in from everywhere just to come there, because who knows, that may be the last time they ever see him again. And they said, Buxton Kong said, I hadn't seen this student in 25 years, or this one in 40 years. And there they were, right in the audience, coming up there talking. That is the most special time here at the museum, when we get to do the honor awards and say thank you to what you did and the impact you made. Such a tear-jerking time, but it's a wonderful thing we do. That's my favorite thing in the museum that we do.
Yeah, nice. I've seen that. Well, the podcast sort of started the same way. I went to a camp in 2014. It was a memorial camp for Tom Kelly, and Sigung Labounty was still around. So we were by the campfire, and he starts telling their story. So I recorded it, me. And that's where this whole thing got started. And I said, well, like you, why are we waiting till they've gone? Why aren't we doing this while they're still around? And then for me, it was capture it in their own words from the horse's mouth. No one can deny what comes, he didn't say that. Yes, he did, because here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing it on a different scale. I've got a smaller budget. It's me and my team. That's me.
Yeah, I know it. I've never been paid here.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day I will, but I would rather the money go to the museum and help sustain the museum, keep it moving forward, get new displays, get what we need to get to make sure it's run smoothly without worry. One day I'll get paid. But for now, I've done it out of love in my heart, and we've given up a lot for this. But we've, I think it's well worth it. It.
So with let's hear a little bit. Your Dragon Fest. That's one of your babies, right?
Well, yes and no. It was a convention started by Gerald Kimura a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. He started real small for a few celebrities, and his goal was to bring celebrities, and people sign stuff, the pictures and celebrities. That was his goal. And he built it over the years, up to 9 years he did it. And he finally got it big enough. It was at the Glendale Civic Auditorium, and it was filled with tables with David Carradine and all these different celebrities. And then he had demonstrations on stage. And that's what it was, a nice celebrity fest, and get to enjoy little demonstrations, but you meet your celebrity and all that. So, and then we had they had icons there as well, pioneers, Saki and all that. And I loved it, because I had a booth there every year, and I did their website for them and all that. And then after 9 years, he stopped it. He wasn't doing it anymore. And for 10 years, he never did it again. And everybody, when we started the museum, kept bugging me. You got to start Dragon Fest. You got to start it. And I said, okay. I called Gerald. I said, Gerald, he said, okay, the museum takes it over and relaunches it. He goes, you got my blessing. It's all yours, my blessing. I said, great, okay. But this time, the goal wasn't to focus just on celebrities. Is to be a branch of the museum, to bring icons, to have cultural performances on stage, lion dancing, Japanese taiko, but also have seminars. He didn't have seminars, and I had seminars. So Benny Ukita's teaching a seminar, Don Wilson teaching a seminar, and then on stage I get to enjoy that. And then the booths will not just be the icons, not just be celebrities, but also jewelry and things you can buy, and different things that you can learn and from, and health things and all that. And that's how we launched it, and has grown ever since. So it's not just a celebrity fest. It is a way people to come back, like a reunion, to see everybody there. People saw Birusaki too. He passed away. Carl Totten too. He passed away. Got to see the icons, get to know them, say hello, shake their hand. You don't know how long they're going to be with us. They were there. They all had booths there, and everybody got to meet them and learn from them. And that's what it's all about, And the whole thing is to raise money for the museum. 100% of the funds goes to the museum. Nobody gets paid. And people, we have stage performances, or all cultural performances. We have seminars from, some of the pioneers and stuff like that. But the whole time is a big reunion. You get to see your old friends, but you have a great time, and you celebrate the museum, and everything's focused on the museum, and all the money goes to the museum to help us out.
Nice, nice. So in all your time at the Dragon Fest and the museum, and in your training, do you have any funny moments that you can share with us? Because everyone loves a funny story.
Yeah. I don't really have funny stories. I'm too much of a business guy, and I'm trying to calm that down. Always business, 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 always too much business. And, thankfully, everything's run, how you say, like a well-oiled machine. The museum, what did they say in Star Trek? Two monkeys and a trainee can run it, fly the Enterprise. I knew that it was going to have to be designed to run itself, to not need my help if it didn't need it. And that's what the museum has done. It has the video, it has the words on the wall, it has the colors, it has the bright enough text, the right enough size, the amount of text. We've all, I went through the whole thing and looking at people's attention span and how much they're going to look at videos, how long to make the videos, what are they going to like in it. And I had to go through that whole process to make sure anybody can walk through the door, and when they go through the museum, they're going to come out and say, wow, boy, did I learn a lot without me doing anything. And that's what it does. It's a well-oiled machine. I really did my best to make sure it can run on its own, and so having a funny moment, I don't really have them. I have a lot of fun doing it, even though it is so much work, and I mean so much work. Nobody's going to do this, I say that. Nobody's going to do this, especially for nothing, for no pay at all. But I enjoy it. I enjoy making the logos. I enjoy doing the interviews. We have gotten into every news station you can think of, and not just for 30 seconds. We've been on there for like 5-10 minutes on Channel 5, Channel 11. They've done many stories. We've gotten in magazines. We've gotten in the Auto Club magazine, which takes $1 million to get an ad in there. We have been in there because they gave it to us. We have been in everything you can think of, every broadcast, every radio station. They have given us time. We're very grateful for that. So funny moments. I can't think of funny moments. We used to have people would come in, and not very often, they'll say, don't you know who I am? We've had that, and I said, he'll say, I'm a Grandmaster. I should get in free. And I said, how long you been studying? I've been studying 40 years. And I said, I've been studying 60 years. They go, never mind, I'll pay. And I said, so we never have that anymore. We never have that. We used to have that in the very beginning, but we never have that anymore. Everybody's grateful to be here. They all put their money on the counter. Cynthia Rothrock, the first one to put money on the counter. Here's my money, period. I don't care who I am. Here's my money for the museum. Don Wilson, here's my money. These guys are putting their stuff down because they believe in what we're doing. So I can't think of funny moments. Gosh, that's a good one. I can't think of
the internationals. Ed Parker Jr. talks about a gentleman doing a kata with rattlesnakes as nunchucks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen them at the internationals. Someone wearing hardly anything, someone with their pants falling down, somebody singing in the showmanship. Singing, that's all they did. That I'd seen at the internationals. You get everything there. But thankfully we haven't had anything strange here, anything strange. We had one person come to the Dragon Fest, and she was a very well-known star. And she says, I'm going to bring 4 of my bodyguards with me. And I said, young lady, everybody in Dragon Fest can beat up all your 4 bodyguards. They're martial artists in there.
Yeah.
We had the cops come in here many times. And they said, are you worried about people stealing stuff or running and damaging stuff? I said, this is a martial arts museum. This is not a history, just history. These are martial artists in here.
Yeah, run by martial
me,
artists.
Yeah. I said, I'm going to lock that door. They ain't coming. They're going to stay in here with me. I said, this is a martial arts museum. We don't have that problem here. So, which is kind of funny, there's weapons everywhere. I have weapons everywhere around me in my desk here. I have weapons everywhere. That's we're martial artists. This is what we do. But I would say not the funniest moment, but my favorite moment. My favorite thing. People ask me all the time, what's your favorite thing in the museum? What's your favorite thing? And I say the same answer to this. I say my favorite thing in the entire museum has been the 26-year journey. That's my favorite, because in the 26 years, I have met everybody. I have had wonderful friends I would have never met if I didn't have this museum. People come in the door. Here's $100 to help the museum. Here's $1,000 to help the museum. Here's money. I don't even know. There they are helping us out. People have become my friends that I would never have met in 1,000 years unless we had the museum. So to me, to having these wonderful friends, people that I call my friends, people that I've connected with, people I've got to know, the Richard Bustillos I got to know, and these guys, the Joe Lewis I got to know, and these guys at Chuck Norris's, and these guys I've got to know throughout my whole lifetime. I've got to know them, meet them. That has been the wonderful time, the journey that this museum has allotted me, to be part of history. And if I'm gone tomorrow, at least I made an accomplishment. I did something. I did something. I always ask when we do the honor days at the very end, how would you like to be remembered? And I've had to use that on many people's funerals, say that, because that's what they said. And to me, I think I did something good. I think I did something good. I think I did my best to keep history alive. I did my best. I can honestly say that I have done everything, not barring nothing, not pulling back anything. I've everything I could do to make this museum successful and make it work. And people come in here and say, wow, this is really good. And they learn about this person and that person and this person. That's how I want to be remembered, as doing something that was good, that kept our history alive.
Nice.
That's the good thing. How's that?
That's good. That's good. Okay.
A funny thing, I guess.
What's for your students of your monkey kung fu, if you were no longer around, what is your message to them for, say, their lineage and moving forwards for their art?
When COVID hit, it really messed everybody up, including my students. For 2 years almost, we couldn't practice, And in those 2 years, they never practiced. So when they came back after those 2 years, it was like almost starting from scratch, because they had to relearn everything. And they're still relearning everything. COVID's not that far away, and they're still relearning everything. I think, sadly, the art's going to die with me. I love my students. They are wonderful people. but I don't think any of them are going to carry it on. I really don't. And I think the art will die with me. So when I die, that will be the end of the art. I think that's what's going to happen. I would love for them to carry it on, but I don't think they will. I don't think they will. It would be nice, but I don't think they will. I think it'll die with me.
Okay. And for people interested in learning monkey kung fu, how would they go about in just reaching out to yourself or to your website?
Yeah, go to our website, Monkey Kung Fu. I hope someone does carry this on. I really do. It would be a shame for it to be gone. It really would. And who knows? Who knows? Someone may pick up the mantle and go forward with it and keep it going for a long time. And I think that would be very nice. I remember when the third generation, Chan Sao Chung, was passing away, I think a couple months before he passed away, he wrote me a very nice note of saying, keep it up, Michael. You're keeping our history alive. Keep promoting the art. And then about a couple of months later, he passed away. But I consider that a great honor that he wrote that to me to continue the art and keeping it alive, because I'm doing my best to keep it alive. I had it in Inside Kung Fu when we had the magazines, and I miss the magazines. They're all gone. I miss the magazines, and they kept everybody abreast of what's going on and what's out there, and they're all gone now. And websites is hard to find this and that, on things, but I miss the magazines. But I just hope somebody will go to monkeykungfu.com and want to learn monkey and buy the DVDs and practice with them. I designed the DVDs. I got 20 something out now. I'll have about 30 when it's done. And I designed it for someone to learn the entire art form. So if they really want to learn it, the DVDs are so detailed, they can master the entire art by the DVDs.
Okay, nice. And what advice would you have to a beginner starting out in the martial arts?
Oh, for the martial arts. Oh my God. Okay, let me answer this in twofold. For someone wanting to start a museum for the martial arts, my advice is don't do it. Because it's so much work. Don't do it. It's too much work. I've given up everything. I gave up my home. We sold our home to do the museum. Finally, after 15 years, we were able to move back into a home. But we sold our home. We sold everything. I gave up my job, everything to do the museum. It is too much work. I'm telling you now, don't do it, okay? Don't do it. Let's focus on this one and make sure this one succeeds for hundreds of years from now. Let's focus on this one, okay? Don't try to do this and this, focus on this one, because we've got to make sure we have one that's here. So let's focus on this one. For the martial artists, I think everybody should do a martial art. Everybody should learn martial arts. Everybody. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. But you need to choose one that fits you. Choose one. I couldn't stand judo. It never fit me. But Kung Fu fit me. That fit me. You have to find one that fits you, that you can work with, that you can use the movements, that it'll apply to your body structure or what you like. If you like throwing, if you like kicking, if you like whatever, learn that, but make sure it works, guys. Make sure it works. You got to learn how to work it. So I encourage everybody to learn some kickboxing and learn some practical stuff. Grappling and all that is great. It's wonderful. But what if someone has a knife on the street and they're got a gun on the street? Learn some other stuff too. Learn a little of this and a little of that. When Bruce Lee, I remember Leo Fong, great friend of mine. He said he used to hang out with Bruce Lee all the time. And when Bruce Lee had that fight with Wong Jack Man, okay, I don't know the details of the fight. Everybody has a different story, okay, on how the fight went. But Leo says, Bruce Lee called me the next day and says, I'm chasing this guy with Wing Chun. I'm chasing him going like this. And he says, Bruce, this is America. Here, you can learn Taekwondo. You can learn boxing. You can learn wrestling. Here in America, it's everywhere. It's not like in China. You only had your Kung Fu and that was it. Here, you can learn all these. And that's what he did. He went with Leo's advice, and he learned this, and he learned that from Jun Ri, and he learned that from Jean LaBelle, and he learned that, this and that. And he got what suited him and made the art, the concept of Jeet Kune Do. And that worked for him. So I encourage people to learn, broaden yourself, learn other stuff, but find the art that fits you, but learn other stuff as well. Learn to use it on the street. You never know. You never know. So, martial arts gives us confidence, gives us strength. It helps us have, as Howard Jackson used to say, goal-minded opportunities to get the next bout, to get the next level, to get better and better and better. So I encourage people, learn martial arts, enjoy it, have fun with it, but learn how to protect yourself as well. Make sure you learn how to do that as well, but have a lot of fun doing it.
Ed Parker coined it well when he said, don't be like the frog in the well when it looks up and the sky, it sees, it thinks that's all the sky there is. Climb out of the well and have a look around.
Exactly. When people say, oh, what style is better? What's this is better? I said, okay, close your eyes and someone's going to punch you. And you tell me if that's Kung Fu, karate, or Taekwondo.
What they say, when pure knuckles meets pure flesh, that's as pure a system as it gets, right? That's Mr. Parker saying. Okay, if you had to impart some wisdom or have an inspirational quote for some of our listeners, what would that be?
Oh, never give up. Never give up. Never give up. I say that truly. If you have a dream, push at that dream. Don't let anybody stop you. Benny Urquidez built himself from the barrio, and he became one of our greatest champions of all time because he pushed and pushed and pushed, to get out there. Don't give up on your dream, whatever your dream it is. Don't give up. Keep moving forward. You may not reach it, but you're going to get very close. What does they say? Aim for a target. And then when you hit that target, go to the next target. When you hit that target, go to the next target, or hit that milestone, go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. Keep going, never give up on your dreams. Just don't give up. Senator Richard Alarcon and one of the other councilmen said, Michael, you persist and you keep coming and coming and you're just persistent. You never stop. You never stop with this museum. You keep pounding and pounding. I've never seen someone so persistent. And I said, well, I got to. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. We got to make it work. So I say to everybody, don't give up on your dreams. Go as far as you can and go a little further, and then go a little further and just keep going. Leo Fong said before he passed away, never stop training. He was 93 when he passed away. Without COVID, if COVID hadn't hit, he would have lived to 98. But he was still teaching, doing seminars at 93. He said, never stop, keep moving, keep touching, keep moving, So I say that, I say that to everybody, never give up on your dreams. Keep moving forward, no matter how far you go, just keep moving forward.
And can you recommend some books, some of the ones you've written for our listeners and others that you've maybe been featured in or magazines?
I've been in a lot of magazines and a lot of books, and I encourage everybody to read. Get something, read it. I'm reading this one right now, Brawl, and I'm reading a few other ones. Get out there. There's a lot of material out there. Read, no matter what it is. Pick it up and read. I read a lot of kids' books. Goosebumps. I read a lot of Goosebumps. I read Star Trek stuff. Get out there and read. Expand your vocabulary. Pick up these history books. It doesn't have to be martial artists. It can be on a general. It can be how Walt Disney succeeded. It can be how, this person did that and this person did that. You might, Bruce Lee was always reading about Muhammad Ali, reading about his books and what he did and, learning his movements and stuff like that. He was always reading. So I encourage people to pick up a book and start reading, whatever it is, expand your vocabulary, expand your mind, start read some of these Hall of Fame books, read about our pioneers, read whatever book you can to learn about it. I love biographies. I listen to a biography every single day. On my way home from work, I listen to a biography. My way home to work, I listen to biography, no matter who it is, because I learned from those biographies what these guys, what Hershey went through, what Henry Ford went through, what these guys went through. And I said, if they can go through it, I can do it too. So read biographies, read how people overcame and made a difference.
Okay. And for people interested in reaching out for the History Museum, now's the time for your plug, location, address, email, and any other things you want to mention.
We are located in the great city of Glendale, California. The address is 201 North Brand Boulevard, B100 in Glendale, California, 91203. Our website is mamuseum.com or martialartsmuseum.com or martialartshistorymuseum.com. And our email is info at mamuseum.com. Very simple. Or martialartsmuseum@hotmail.com. We got a bunch of them. We got it when this started. The whole thing started back in the 90s. So, that's a way to get a hold of. I'm easy to get a hold of, and, support the museum. I end with this. Support the museum.
What's the best way? What's the best
Yeah.
way for people to support the museum?
Make a donation. Become a member. Become a member of the museum. That will help us out. Make a donation.
How do they become a member?
They can go into our website at mamuseum.com and become a member. It's tax deductible. Anybody from around the world can become a member. And that's good. You'll be getting, if you come here to the museum, it's free the whole year. But if not, even if you don't come here, we got a lot of people from overseas who are members who will never be here, but they say, I want to support the museum and I'm going to become a member, or I'm going to make a donation and help out the museum. We need to keep this history alive. And without people's help, it ain't going to happen. It's going to fall.
What's the cost of membership for the year?
$65 for the adults and $100 for 2 adults and all the family members. So it's a great bargain.
Okay, nice. Okay. All right. And I think that pretty much brings us to the end of our interview. Unless there's anything else you wanted to mention while we're here.
No, I think I said it all. I appreciate you doing this. It's very kind. And again, I say we have this one opportunity, guys. This is our opportunity to have a museum. This is it. This is our one and only opportunity. It ain't going to happen again. 50 years from now, nobody's going to remember. I tell people 5 years from now, nobody's going to remember any of us. 5-10 years, nobody remember Ed Parker. Nobody remember any of us. So let's do it now. We have a great opportunity right now to make sure everybody's history is kept alive.
So do you have a YouTube channel podcast for the museum? Or
Yes, Martial Arts Museum. Martial Arts History Museum. We have 2 YouTube channels, and I'm learning how to do a podcast. That's one thing I'm learning how to do. I don't know how to do it. Again, the phone stuff and all that's new to me. I'm still new to it. I'm learning everything else, but I need to do a podcast. I need to do all that stuff. I would love to do that. So
I can give you a hand with that. That's
okay. That'd be nice. Yeah, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, not a problem. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you, Mr. Michael Matsuda, Grandmaster Monkey Kung Fu, President of the Martial Arts History Museum in Glendale, California, USA. Thanks for being on the podcast and sharing your time with everyone and sharing your museum and story. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Peter, for having me on here. I truly appreciate that.
I'm your host, Peter Taz, and you've tuned in to the Mind Sensei Podcast from Down Under. We want to take a moment to thank all our listeners for tuning in to the Mind Sensei Podcast. We appreciate your support and hope our show has been both informative and entertaining for you. If you haven't already done so, we would like to invite you to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Finally, we'd like to thank our guests for sharing their knowledge and experience with us. Without their generosity, this podcast would not be possible. Thank you again for listening to the Mind Sensei Podcast Down Under. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey through the world of martial arts.